Welcome to the Tequila Time Podcast. I'm so excited to introduce to you today's guest, member of the Ape Yacht Club, Jay. Hi, Jay. How's it going?
Good. Yourself?
I'm amazing. Thank you for asking. I'd really like to start just by knowing your story. Like, how did it look when you entered the Ape Yacht Club?
So this one's going to be a long one, but I'll kind of make it short. Well, I've been around NFTs since, OpenSea has opened their doors in 2017, late 2017. So I've always traded NFTs like CryptoKitties and all that stuff. So believe it or not, in February of 2021, there was a group that, believe it or not, a lot of Bored Ape Yacht Club people came from, and that was called Picasso Punks. Picasso Punks were a derivative of the craze of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And we kind of like were in love with punks. And it was a small community of like a derivative called Picasso Punks. And believe it or not, someone shilled it in there in Discord, and we were all talking about it. And this was like way before. This is when pretty much Gordo and them were going in every single Discord. And they were, believe it or not, in Discord, in each community, there was like a shill channel. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
and that's where,
I did.
And that's where people would advertise their NFT and all that stuff. Believe it or not, what people don't know is Gordo actually went into a lot of Discords kind of shilling about, showing what Bored Ape Yacht Club is and all that stuff. And, every single day we would look at these shills, and it came to someone's, mindset of, oh, let me check this out. And yeah, a lot of people started talking about it before they released. And believe it or not, I jumped on their website and I looked at it and I was like, you know what, this looks interesting. Let me put my email down, because you could sign up for emails, to see when they went live. And totally forgot about it. Put my email down, and here comes May 1st, where everybody started talking about it. This is when their reveal was coming, because, Bored Ape Yacht Club was available for a week, where people were just minting for unrevealed, and no one really talked about it. But May 1st of 2021 is when a lot of people talk about it and came to surface, because they were instant reveal as you were minting. So I got a call from my friend that we were talking from Picasso Punks, and he's like, check this out. So I started checking it out, and it actually had momentum in the beginning. And, after 1,000 were minted, I remember looking at it, I was like, okay, these are actually minting, like not fast, but people are interested. And I remember getting on a call with my friend, and I think I looked at the number of minted, and it was like 3,000. And, stayed on the phone with my friend. We were looking at all the apes, and I was like, damn, these are actually cool. But I didn't fall in love with the art. I just thought they were new, right? They were a new PFP. There was something new. What grabbed my attention that people don't really talk about at all is the bonding curve, right? Like, people talk about the commercial rights and all that stuff, but no one really talks about the bonding curve. What the bonding curve was Bored Ape Yacht Club was one of the first to kind of cut that meta off, where, every single ape was 0.08. And, I got off the phone with my friend, and believe it or not, I looked at the total minted, and it was like 4,000, 5,000. I was like, okay, these are going pretty fast. So I minted 5 right out the bat. Didn't like what I saw, what I minted. So believe it or not, a lot of people were flipping and re-minting, because we were all believe it or not, we were all like broke boys. we were trying to get the gold ape, because that's what everybody was trying to do. One person hit it, and then everybody's like, okay, well, we're going to try to get this. So everybody was selling below underneath floor so they can cover to mint more. And that's what I was doing as well. I ended up minting 20 in total.
Amazing.
And, yeah, and then Pranksy, it sold out at 4 a.m. my time. But yeah, Pranksy started tweeting about it. Everybody started tweeting about it. And it's just like a memory that I'll never forget, because it was a the Discord was going crazy. People were sharing what they were getting, what they want to sell, and like when a Trippy came out, people were like, there was just like new furs coming out all the single time. And it was just like everybody was chasing what they thought was rare by selling what they minted because they got like a floor or something like that. But yeah, a lot of people don't really talk about like that day because a lot of people weren't there, but it was just an amazing, amazing day of like, I'll always remember of May 1st.
That's amazing. It's incredible. It's actually really interesting to hear your story because, many people, especially who've been on the podcast so far, didn't quite manage to, to get at that point that early where you minted and you were flipping and you have that memory forever. And I love that because there was something so special about the feelings and emotions around that time and even the weeks following. And I really do think that something triggered around May 1st where it wasn't there before. And suddenly people were just so excited. Like even when people just immediately had their apes, they were making them profile photos on Twitter. They were immediately ape follow ape hashtags, and apes were actually following apes. Where Twitter is quite difficult to get new followers, it actually wasn't because everyone in that community really were
it was
doing it.
The movement was crazy, right? It was like, believe it or not, on my Twitter, I still have the banana. I have not changed my username since that happened, right? The banana was like the big thing, right? Is like, if you wanted like to know that you were in the ecosystem, you would put a banana after your name. And I still till this day, I have never changed my name since that because like, the movement was just like so strong in the beginning. I mean, it still is, but it's just like, it was such a refresh, right? Because everybody before Bored Ape Yacht Club, believe it or not, everybody was like minting OpenSea contracts. People were making their own projects and all that stuff. Like Bored Ape Yacht Club was, I would say, like perfect time, perfect setting, but it felt like a refresher because people saw more of just a JPEG. They were like, okay, I can actually make this my PFP. And it was just like there's just so much as you dissect it, right? Of like what happened that day. And yeah, it was insane. And I'll always remember that because, back then you had so much time to talk to your friends, look at the art and do whatever you have to do and still be able to have that choice to say, you know what? I'm going to mint it, right? Of like now you don't even have an opportunity to do that. It's like, you just got to mint right away. But like Bored Ape Yacht Club was special where, you had so many people talking, calling, texting, and yet you still had an opportunity to mint because it took like 5 hours. But back then that was like a long time, that was a short time to mint.
Yeah, for sure. I still have my banana as well. I did change my name, but slightly, but I kept my banana because I feel like that is the true verification of Bored Ape Yacht Club, and every ape will understand.
The only OGs know about that, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Like with the apes that you minted and maybe flipped to get like the gold, did you get a gold in the end?
No, I never got one. I was kind of not pissed off, but I ended up getting like sad face with party hats and all that stuff. All my apes were minted. I only have 2 left, but my DMT and my pizza mouth. But the interesting fact of both of those is my DMT is the last minted DMT, and my pizza mouth is my last. That's why those serial numbers are so high up there, because everybody asks me is like, Jay, how do you have those serial numbers like so close? Is because like I minted them. So it's like they're very special to me because like historic value, it's like the last of the last. I remember pushing that transaction fast because it was like stuck, and I was like, I'm just gonna push. I think I paid like 100 Gwei. Back then that was crazy, and as soon as the confirmation came in, it was like sold out, and I was like, wow, it was nuts.
That's amazing. I love it. And I love that the apes that you have, there's an emotional reason there, and on that note, the fact that you feel something for your bored apes that you still have, would you ever sell, like ever?
So my DMT, no, I would, believe it or not, they could go to just crazy value. In my mindset, that's a lot of people say forever. Like the true meaning, like my DMT ape is like a forever. The reason why is because it shares so much like historic memory that, yeah, maybe one day I'll sell my pizza mouth because I don't really use it. But yeah, my DMT, I would never ever sell it because it just has so much meaning. And it honestly like is my brand of like how I came up, right? Is like everybody knows me as that ape. So it's just like not for other people, but it's weird. And it's going to be weird as people start, changing their brands and stuff like that. And other apes have that, which for me, I feel is weird because our ecosystem is like, we don't know names, but you could show me a PFP of an ape that actually is, around Twitter. And I know exactly who he is and I've talked to him and all that stuff. So that's going to be a weird kind of mentality of like, as we start to move up there and more people kind of sell and flip and all that stuff.
Yeah, I see that. I feel that too. Like even my body, I feel the same as you. I've started building with the IP. I've been using an AR filter for 2 years. All of my content, even everything on my phone. There's no photos and videos of me IRL anymore. I have no human stuff. It's all my ape.
That's so dope.
So yeah, I feel like I've become one literally with my ape, and I feel exactly the same as you. I feel like I would hold forever, even if someone offered me like millions and millions. It's not about the money. It's about what's possible to be built, like
Correct.
we're able to use our IP. And the future is Web3. The future is online identity. The future is the metaverse. No matter who's not ready yet, you won't be able to stop it. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Like, what's your thoughts as well, like with other side and where we're headed?
I think it's going to take a while, but like with good things take a while. It's the same thing how like choppy the web was like back in like, AIM, AOL, Yahoo, stuff like that is like, that's where I feel like we are today. And like, you have like these chat rooms and stuff like that is like, I just feel like that's where we are. And, as we start building and new things start to come in and we feel like it's going to take so long, but by like, where I was in 2017 till now, like I feel like that was yesterday. Flipping punks and flipping crypto kitties and stuff like that is like, I just feel that was like yesterday. So it's gonna take a while, but it's gonna feel so fast. How this ecosystem in Web3 is just going to like unreveal.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so excited. Literally, I'm bubbling inside for all of us because everyone who's here right now, everyone who's here so early has so much golden opportunity to grow and build. Like there is nothing that won't be needed in Web3. Everything's going to integrate. There's so much opportunity for new business, for new ventures, for people who have an idea to grow, especially, we've got ApeCoin DAO and all you need to do is hold an ApeCoin to build something. Like it is incredible. And we all have that opportunity. No one is left out if they don't want to be. And I love that about it as well. Like there's no discriminating factor.
100%.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
What I was going to say is, so what's interesting about all this is like the branding and not the IP, but your person in this ecosystem is so untapped, right? Is like there isn't like a celebrity yet and all that stuff, right? Is like we're all building our networks, and like in the future you're gonna see people like oh crap, like I've seen him from like nothing to like now he's like pretty big, right? So like it's interesting to watch, like people on the rise, people on the downfall, but like at the end of the day we keep pushing this space forward, and it's going to be interesting to watch people build different things, and it's not just around their IP, but like different subscription models or different businesses, and it's just going to be cool. Like it's like high school, to believe it or not, like like looking at like like a person that was in your class of high school, and then now they're like some business owner. You're like, wow, I went to school with them, right? That's what I feel like this ecosystem is.
Yeah, for sure. And I've seen on your page, like you're building a few things. And I would love to hear about it because anyone who's building right now, I find just super interesting. Like, tell me like I'm 5, because I know it's to do with trading and stuff.
Yeah. So So like I said, I've been in this what's crazy is I've been in this space since 2012, and I was a Bitcoin miner. I got tipped
That's
off
so
to my
cool.
yeah, I got tipped off from my friend to like, hey, back in the day it was called like e-money. And it was like online money. It wasn't really called the structure of like Bitcoin today as we see it. So I've always been a gamer myself, like professional and just like an average gamer. And I saw an opportunity that like in like having online money, right? Is like I saw like a big kind of like boom. And I literally like locked myself in my room for like months, and I started reading about the blockchain and all that stuff. And like I just fell in love with like I'm always about transparency, and like you could see everything. So that's why I kind of like fell in love with the tech. So yeah, I went crazy with Bitcoin mining and all that stuff. And like fast forward today of like all the the mess ups and all the successful trades and all that stuff is like that's where I started a project called Lodi, and it stands for living on the internet. And what living on the internet is pretty much to educate and kind of form a community and membership of like all what it really is to live on the internet, right? And that's through education, that's through trades, that's just like being a better person of yourself, in ways of me educating of all the experiences I've had, in the past of maybe my Web 2 businesses or even my Web 3 businesses. I just want to bring everybody together and just be elite traders, where I'm not just making the shots, my community is making the shots as well. And we're just like all family in there and just sharing thoughts, sharing ideas, sharing trades. And it's just like a network of people that want to, better themselves in this ecosystem of being like elite traders.
Yeah, it makes sense in the industry we're in because I'm definitely not good at trading. I'm a great hodler. I can hodl anything and watch it go to zero even. But when it comes to trading, yeah, it makes a lot of sense what you're doing. I did notice as well that you've got another page that's also, it looks like it's to do with the same similar type of stuff. But what's the difference between the two?
So Occupy was the idea that was brought to mind, right? And I didn't want it to like, to be honest, I don't like a thing called alpha groups. I just
Yeah.
like, it just doesn't feel good to me. Like, I don't want it to be like a pump and dump group. So I kind of like, I created the idea like back in December of 2022, and it just like wasn't sitting in my mind right, where it's just like I don't want to be known as just like an alpha group, right? So I kind of like retired that idea, and whoever was like on that kind of knew about like Lodi, living on the internet. I just see living on the internet as like a brand, and how I can build that structure around everything about living on the internet. If that's network, if that's connections, if that's being what you want as like a quote unquote alpha group, I call it an opportunity group. And that's where I kind of like, I didn't shut down Occupy. I just kind of like said, hey, we're rebranding to living on the internet. But there was no NFT for that. It was just like, I was just like, go to market strategy of Occupy, and then ended up saying like, hey, this is just like not it. Let me rebrand to like living on the internet, because like the name I've had for living on the internet has been in my brain since 2017, where I wanted to do podcasts and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make an NFT and like run it with a community, because like the experience I have, I would just like, I love educating. I love seeing people win, and I love seeing people better themselves. So that's like where I feel like I've been put on this planet to do.
That's amazing. And yeah, so many of us need more education. And knowledge is nothing unless it's shared. So what
Correct.
you're doing is, yeah, great, beautiful. And I'm all for it, because we all need to know more. And it makes total sense as well, what you say. And to be honest, we're all living on the internet. So the name is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm never changing that name. That name is just set in my head. It's just like everybody to this day lives on the internet, and I just think it's a beautiful brand that I can build out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. You definitely need to patent that. Get a trademark.
Yeah. Slow and steady. We'll definitely build. But yeah, it's only been 6 months, so it's been a crazy ride. But at the end of the day, I'm there for the community every single day, and everybody knows I'm just head down and building and just building the best. Taking ideas from Bored Ape Yacht Club and stuff like that, because I really do admire them and see how they grew out of nothing, right? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's incredible because what business startup ever generates that much in a short space of time with so many people for it and holding and, sticking around and building around it? It's beautiful because the founders never told us what to do. If anything, they've been very quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. But it's also at the same time, it just demonstrates that any project needs a community, and it needs a community to hold, not just flip. And I feel like some of the lessons people have not yet learned is the beauty of why the Bored Ape Yacht Club went strength to strength like it did. Because it wasn't just because the founders worked on it, and it wasn't just because they stuck around even when they generated millions. It was also because the community stuck together and they were not trying to flip their way to become a millionaire. People really believed in the membership, like we were going to have a yacht club, a club. Everyone believed in the membership just as much as I guess you could believe in anything that wasn't quite there yet. So it was built upon the people with the belief. And I feel like a lot of projects miss that now, And it's a shame because there could be many more clubs like Bored Ape Yacht Club, but also it's so difficult now because the mindset is not the same.
100%. No, it really isn't. And that's the thing where I think this whole ecosystem needs a reset, and to understand a lot of people need to understand why are we here? Because I've always said it is, there's no such thing as utility without a community, and community always comes first. And believe it or not, Bored Ape Yacht Club, their first, I like to call them stoop kids like myself, that were in the project in the beginning, it was a bunch of people that were artists, right? So how kind of Bored Ape Yacht Club kind of got off the ground is not everybody wasn't asking, gimme. They were giving more than they were getting, right? And that's all the derivatives, all the artists that were producing this content, of sharing this kind of this whole ecosystem, and how it brought and surfaced was it was really the artists behind, people in the community that were sharing, it's we were all doing stuff for people, and not even asking. For instance, when we went to Sotheby's, I was one of them to, if you were busy or you couldn't do it, give me your ape and I would make a suit for you. And, not even asking, not even in my mind thinking oh, I'm going to make money from this. It was oh, I'm going to help people, right? To feel like everybody's in the community. And yeah, I did about 400 apes. It was crazy, but
wow.
Yeah, it was fun, right? It's fun, fun of helping each other. And that's where I really love Bored Ape Yacht Club is the connections I've made, and everybody's here to help one another rather than saying oh, how much money can I make from this person, right? So I'll always remember that.
For sure. And I'm not sure how much will change over time because who knows, who's going to buy which ape in future, who knows what celebrities might buy them, etc. But there is something so special about the connections we're all able to make. It's invaluable. And actually building the connections now while we're still young is exactly why I created this podcast. It was to get to know the community more because it's all great GMs on Twitter all day for 2 years, but to be able to actually have conversations and understand, what you're building, what you're doing, what you're excited for, your story of how you got here, because many people don't know each other's stories. And it was the whole reason I started was because I wanted to get to know people more and I wanted to share these stories. So one day they will be living on the internet forever.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was beautiful. Yeah. So, and off that, I'd like to know as well, just what are you excited for? What do you see in the future?
I want to see new tech being introduced, not new tech, but just new things in the ecosystem that push these pushing new metas and pushing new kind of concepts. So like a lot of people don't know is like my background is like content, where I've helped a lot of, like, as a growth hacker myself, I've helped a lot of people build viral sensations and stuff like that. And as Web3, like, we're niche, but we're also like very powerful, right? Is like everybody knows each other and all that stuff. And what I'm excited is how people build out their content, right? Is like, for instance, like this podcast, or, you know, or stuff on, are they going to build on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube and stuff like that, is like, and how are they going to do it in like a subscription base, or, you know, like how to attract more community, or how to attract web 2 people, is like where I'm really interested. Because like, if we can't expose kind of, you know, the content, we need new people, more people come in, education, you know, just like community growth and all that stuff is like what I'm really interested in, kind of watching how people build and how people get unique and all that stuff is like what I'm very excited about. Is like, I always love watching people go from, you know, zero to hero, and kind of dissecting it and saying like, oh wow, they used this, or they did this, or they, you know, they killed it with something unique. And I guess that's where I'm like really excited of watching this community kind of, you know, get bigger and bigger, but people getting kind of more unique in kind of content distribution.
Yeah, I love that. I believe that online content will always be the future. It's not going away. Even if you're not on there yet, it's not going to go anywhere. One day people will look back at this podcast, where right now they might think it's just funny because, you know, I'm a cartoon ape talking. But it's one day it will be the norm, you know. Everyone will be able to make content with AR filters, and people might turn up as just about anything. It could be a unicorn or a robot or whoever. But online content is the future. And the future content is going to continue to change. It's going to continue to evolve and adapt. And with new technology, it's going to be insane. And I'm really excited for it. Like, one day we'll walk around with contact lenses in. We won't even need these headsets. Yeah. And, you know, we will see whoever that human wants to be that day. You know, we're not going to be walking around as we are. We will be walking around as we want to be. And I think that's just really interesting. And it sounds really far away, but I don't feel like it's that far. I think it'll be in our lifetime.
Not. Yeah, 100%. It's not. I think, like you said, I think AR is going to be a huge thing in our ecosystem, where augmented reality kind of gets in between with real life, where like you could be an avatar, you could do whatever you want in forms of like creating a brand and stuff like that, where I think it's going to be definitely, you know, a viral sensation when someone comes around and really thinks of creative ideas. But definitely, like I said, I think AR is one of the first, and then virtual reality will come into perspective. But like we've seen with Apple, they're coming with their VR headset, I think all these kind of little movements that people don't understand is like a push still, you know, to forward and better Web3. So I'm just really like, it's the days when we wanted, you know, flying cars, but like here in Web3, it's like actually moving forward. And as a person that has been around for so long, what I saw in 2012, 2011, like it feels like, you know, I'm in a whole new ecosystem now. It's just like, you know, each year technology and Web3 and you know, different kind of things keep pushing this ecosystem further. And it's just like unbelievable watching it all unravel.
I love it. I love it. And even like going back to what you said about seeing people transform into viral sensations. Thank you to today's sponsor, Ape Labs. Really appreciate what you guys are doing for digital identity. And if anyone's wondering what it is your very own .ape domain. You could just guess what I picked. Anyway, if you'd like to mint your name on the Ethereum network before someone else grabs it, and links are in the description. Better keep it quiet between you and I. Wouldn't want anyone else getting your name first. Shh. Anyway, back to today's podcast. Do you feel like the keys to that have changed over the last years? I'm not sure how long, you know, you were, you know, I guess focused on that, but have you seen like anything you've even had to adapt if you were, you know, helping?
Yeah, I mean, I think it sticks to different kind of platforms that have more discoverability, but using those platforms to hedge against kind of, multiple platforms, I think is like key. Like if you're just sticking on Twitter, I think, you'll have your time and you'll have your uprise, but at the end of the day, there is a threshold that you get stagnant, right? So you have to actually hedge against that and use content like what you're doing, and as dope as being on YouTube and being on different kind of platforms where, I think being able to adapt that way and, trying out new platforms where it's called pillar distribution, where you record something but then you kind of give it to other platforms in little snippage to bring that viewer in, is just like, I think, to adapt in different platforms and not kind of being like shadow minded and saying like, no, I'm just going to stick on Twitter, is like, you have to be adaptive in this ecosystem and kind of go where people are using the most, because algorithms change, discoverability changes and stuff like that, where it's just like it's a grind, but at the end of the day, it's very interesting of like what platform is coming up, what platform is doing this, and just like being in the loop is always like a cheat sheet.
Yeah, totally agree. Like the more places you are, the more eyes will see you. I think
100%.
The hardest thing, I guess, is building an audience in the first place. Starting from the ground zero. But I think over time, as long as you continue to put content out there and maybe work on certain strategies, obviously that helps. But I guess it's just good to know that someone knows what they're doing. So if anyone ever needed to know, Jay knows.
Yeah. I guess like to hear it, like, as you said, like from someone that starts at like zero, is like Twitter is one of the only platforms that like you can actually go from zero to hero. And like, there are so many different ways. Like Twitter Spaces is so great, like to join and kind of give your opinion and like join kind of like stages that actually have a decent amount of viewers. Is like, there are discoverabilities there where you can like push yourself, and like if you don't like voice and you don't feel confident in that way, then like being a reply person, right, in like different kind of things, like at the end of the day, if you reply so much on someone, like they're gonna see it, and it's either they like you or they don't. And if they do, then they'll push you too. Is like, this is what this ecosystem is like, if you're providing good content, if it's memes or it's education, stuff like that, people are willing to push it for you, right? Like retweeting, liking, and like, that's how you like kind of build, your foundation, is like, give something that people want to see in your own kind of spin, and you're always going to have support. You're going to always have your haters, but I would say it always overweighs the people like always want to support each other. Then that's what I love about Web3.
Web3 is beautiful. I even think NFT, Twitter specifically, is amazing for what you just said. Like GM's trend. If you do a GM every day, people will see it because you'll just come up in the algorithm, which is incredible. And like, do you think, obviously Elon's taken over Twitter, now the code is open sourced, people will be able to see how they grow and see what they're doing wrong or what they can do to build. So that's amazing, because no other social media platform's ever given that transparency. And you love transparency, so do I. I think it's just a beautiful thing. Thank you, Elon. But on that note, do you think Twitter will one day become the giant, the monster above everything else for content, even for video? Do you think that is the future?
I think they have a shot. The reason why I think they have a shot is they haven't really introduced a sustainable monetization, right? Where like people from Instagram or TikTok will say, you know what, I'm going to make more content on Twitter, because at the end of the day, like all this content making is like time. You're against time, right? So like at the end of the day, I understand everybody needs to get paid and feel like not worthy, but feel like, you don't spend a month, doing, every single day, content after content after content to like not feel that, it's given back to you. So I think honestly, if Twitter starts to kind of evolve in making some kind of good monetization for content creators in ways of like video form, Twitter Spaces and stuff like that, I think Twitter has a shot. What's funny is I'm actually building a concept. There's so much there's so much concepts and untapped, markets on Twitter that like really haven't been hit, of like small monetizations that like that Twitter is giving. Like for instance, I really don't believe that the subscription model base on Twitter has been used the way that it should be used, right? So that's something I've been looking at and helping others and stuff like that, is they're giving you a benefit of tapping into your community in providing something with value that can benefit them. And that call to action hasn't been touched yet. And like, that's what I've been really working on, because that's something that can actually like move this space forward and bring in more content creators and stuff like that. If like no one has yet shown a, successful subscription follower stuff like that. And yeah, I'm very interested, and I'm always looking at those kind of monetizations and structures, because that's what I do and I love doing it.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff. Like, can you share like how you would go about doing something like that? Like, what do you see that's missing?
So
what are you trying to fill?
I'll literally tell you my sauce.
Here we go,
because
the
like
alpha.
I said, because I've always believed it, is I can share all my ideas, but people don't have my mindset, right? Is like, I've like in Web 2, in my old businesses, I've shared ideas and I've gotten screwed over, and they try to build that company and failed, because at the end of the day, like my mind works different than everybody else's, and everybody's mind works different. So that's why I always tell people, like, have confidence in sharing your ideas, because at the end of the day, if they steal it, they're still not in your mindset and how you would run stuff. So I truly believe, like talking about subscriptions and stuff like that, what's really untapped is voice notes, right? On a subscription base, because at the end of the day, Twitter is all about, go, go, go. No one has enough time. There's so much stuff and feed that the untapped market right now is voice notes. And like the idea I have is, since I pitch education and I pitch kind of like market sentiments and technical analysis, is like I want to bring that into voice notes, but very short, where like you understand everything in less than 5 minutes of what happened, for the day on Twitter, or the sentiment of the market. Is like, I ran something that I saw was very successful, and I saw that no one was doing it. And that's kind of like my case study of, I ran a space. Everybody runs a long space, right? It's like you get your speakers and you have like content, stuff like that. I had an idea and I ran it for like a couple of months, and it was very successful. Is why not have a space for 20 minutes, but like just spit out, it was called Fire Alpha, and just spit out information very fast for 20 minutes. And it scaled fast, like it scaled very fast. So it showed me that people don't have time, but rather get information as fast as possible and then go on without their day, So I believe that, subscription models should be the same concept, but a better understanding in my kind of content is providing education through voice notes, rather than sending huge texts and all that stuff. Is like, at the end of the day, and it shows, a lot of people won't read those, right? They'd rather hear, like, audio is like one of the biggest hits right now, right? Like you have podcasts, you have Audible, like people don't want to read anymore. They would rather get it read to them. So I'm going to tap into kind of the voice notes on a subscription base, where it's affordable for everybody, but you're bettering yourself of education, market sentiments, and just explaining everything in a short-term kind of voice note, where you're always up to speed on everything. So like, that's kind of like where I see that's untapped on like the subscription-based model.
I see that. Yeah, that's actually spot on, especially since recently we've got now voice inside DMs. You can send a voice note, and that's just like, wow, why did Twitter never do that before?
And it shows it works, right? It showed, like, I'm in a lot of GCs, general chats, and like a lot of people are starting to use that, because like, at the end of the day, you have to think, like, worst case scenario is like, people are, sorry to say, but people are lazy, right? They'd rather just press a button and talk, right? Rather than typing up a huge thing. So like, I'll keep saying it. And like, voices, audio is one of the best in this ecosystem that hasn't been tapped yet. And like, we've seen it with Twitter Spaces. Like, Twitter Spaces is always here. There's constant flow. There's constant speakers. There's constant listeners. will bring that to a subscription base in an affordable manner where you can educate in different things, right? Is like people aren't using the subscription base. And maybe because I come from like that kind of content that I understand is if solve a problem and you're going to have people support you no matter what, right? So everybody thinks like, oh, let me just turn on my subscription and someone's going to, pay. You're going to have people that support you 100%. But at the end of the day, if you give, you always get, right? So like providing some kind of content that will make the user say like, oh, I'm going to listen, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, is like, you're always going to have people like in and out all the time.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, for example, not only are some people or most people lazy sometimes, maybe all the time, who knows, no judgment, but maybe, and also people have busy lives. They might only have a small amount of time to hear something. They can't watch and they can't read. They're in the middle of cooking something. They're cleaning. They're driving. It could be anything. So it makes a lot of sense for audio to become the next, great thing. I love that. I really love that. But also on the note of voice, it feels very genuine. You feel closer to people. If someone's talking, you hear the tonality in their voice. You know that they're genuine when they speak compared to when they just write a message. And ChatGPT can write for you now. So,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Another reason I say that is because a few years ago, when I was growing a personal TikTok account, I grew really, really fast by doing live shows on TikTok, like 8 hours a day. Like I was only at the beach and the pool, and I just keep it on and hey friends, it was awesome. And it was because they could hear me and see me as well, I guess, with that. But it was the audio, it was the talking, so you can reply to comments live and you're speaking. There's something very personal about that. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, there is so much untapped subscription kind of ideas where like at the end of the day, we're at Web3, but our main focus is grab as much attention as we can to the Web2 side, right? And like bring them in and get them to support and like all we have to do is show how strong our community is. It's not about flipping, JPEGs and how much money you have. Like that's always going to come. If you stick around, that's always going to come no matter what, right? But the thing that always has drawn me in is community, right? Is like there's so much beautiful people here that want to like, help you out or show you this or, just like work on things. Is like I've been in a lot of industries and I've never ever experienced kind of like what Web3 has like done for each other, right? And like that's where we have to attract, not showing, oh, I made $20,000 on this flip. It's like we have to show more of like community, is like the Discord connections that or the Twitter DMs, and just like everybody wanting to help out each other. Is like that's what's going to draw the Web2 community in. Say like, what community do I see myself in? And that's how like the domino effect goes. So there's so many subscription based ideas that provide that in a way of leveraging, subscription models to the Web2 industry, bringing them as the bridge to come into Web3. Like for instance, I haven't yet seen a person in Web3 as a fitness person that wants to do, meals or a fitness program in a Web3 atmosphere on a subscription base, right? Is like these are the ideas that need to be untapped, where it's going to bring a lot of people that love health, love looking at, recipes and stuff like that. But it also will bring Web2 people in and say like, oh, wow, I'll mess with this. And then you've literally hooked them on, seeing how the community is. So like, that's kind of like the ideas I have, is like, there's so many subscriptions in Web2 that haven't been fulfilled in Web3 that, believe it or not, should be the bridge. If you're giving, you're always getting.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it really could be the bridge. I think everything comes down to marketing, because
100%.
Without eyes or ears on something, people don't know. There's people globally who have never had a digital wallet, who have never maybe even logged into Twitter. There are people globally who have never discovered this industry. They know nothing. All they see is the negative news about it in the mainstream media. They don't know what's great about it. They see scams, they see hacks, they see, people, flipping and making millions even, but they think it's negative. They think it's the negative side. They don't see truly what community can be in this industry. And the reason community definitely works, 100%, we know it, is because people need friends. When you feel lonely, things happen to you and it's not nice. When you feel loved and connected and you feel like you have people who feel and think the same way as you, this is why politics kind of works, mind, which isn't good. But also, in regards to community, think of Facebook. The reason Facebook worked is because suddenly people were connected, and
Correct.
There's something really, really special about it. And it's going to happen. Web3 will be the norm and it will happen. How it happens, though, we are just not there yet. We don't know how it's going to happen. We don't know the route. But subscription-based models, it makes a lot of sense. Everything you're saying really does make sense to me.
Oh, yeah. No, that's what I love. What I like to do is I like to pick people's brains and let them kind of build off the ideas that I have, right? Is like, that's ultimately always my goal is I just been in so many ecosystems and so many industries that I'm a consumer of just information. And then I'm like a computer. And then I spit out ideas that I have that I don't know. I'm just born that way. I'm just born that way. It's I'm like a freak of a computer, but at the end of the day, this is me and that's it.
I love it anyway. I love it. And it seems like you have good ideas. So no matter what you were born like, I think it's definitely a pro. I have lots of ideas. Some of them are probably terrible. Others I think are incredible. But on that note of ideas, I have got lists of ideas. But do I need a bunch of people to help me make them work? Yes. You need people who know different things, because my brain can think of this wonderful end point. To get there, it takes a bunch of people with the same vision and the same want and desire and energy to take it there. It takes a lot of, different brains.
Correct. Execution is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, but I do think we're going to see a lot of people create some amazing things. There's amazing people globally, and thanks to the internet, thanks to Twitter, thanks to every avenue of connectivity online, we are able to communicate with whoever we want to, whoever we can reach. And as much as people may be nervous to connect with new people, the worst thing that can happen is they ignore you or they say no. That's not to be afraid of, There's so much opportunity.
Yeah, I totally agree. Never take no for an answer. Always keep going, because at the end of the day, there's someone on the other side that's willing to support you and help you out. That's what I've always seen myself, and I've gotten no's from a lot of people, but at the end of the day, there's always someone that will say yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. If you could envision your dream endpoint, whether it's with the things you're working on, whether it's through your Bored Ape IP, especially your DMT, because these for your forever ape, what would your ideal outcome be if it was say a decade in the future?
Ooh, that's a hard one. If I'd see living on the internet being a kind of an eye opener for just Web3, and that's through a clothing brand that's to be honest, I think the clothing brand industry in Web3 has been so untapped, unbelievable. But I just think of me doing seminars of teaching other people and bringing people into Web3, and the brand would be living on the internet. Of I vouch for education at its strongest. I believe if you're trying to forward yourself, and that's by discipline, and that's also by education, is I see, living on the internet being more than just a small community on Discord. It's much larger, and classes and, meetings around the world where everybody can join together. And kind of what I said, a strong community like Bored Ape Yacht Club is the focus I have, is that's where I see myself and my brand is bridging more people to Web3, but also educating at its finest of like when I say truly understand the blockchain is like everything that you need to know is like what I provide. And it's not just like surface layer stuff. It's actually like under the hood, kind of understanding truly the transparency of the blockchain. That's through like Etherscan and stuff like that. And yeah, that's where I see kind of myself in like a decade, is truly building out a brand that I believe that is sustainable and also helping people in ways that they can't imagine.
That's really exciting. I love it. I cannot wait to see where you take things. You know, I love that you're building something, and that means you're going to be here in the future. You know, you're going to be a part of the club. You're going to be building something that's, you know, there's no end point to everything that people can build, but also to not be lost. It could be on the blockchain forever.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's gonna, like I said, if I've been here for a decade, there's no way I'm leaving now. Yeah, it's just been a journey, and just like you know, just keep pushing forward and understand that, you know, I don't know, I guess for me, it's as I keep helping people, like even behind the doors, like just saying like, thank you, Jay, or you did this for me, this was awesome. And just like pushing people has always, that's the feel good for me, right? Not like making crazy money or doing a crazy flip. It's just like the appreciation is always built for someone to move forward.
I love that. And doing good always feels good. You know, I always feel amazing when I help someone, even if I've had nothing for it. And it's a beautiful feeling. On that note, it's a perfect time to say it. I'd like to gift you something for giving me a time today on this podcast, because since I've been doing this, people give me hours of their time. You know, I think Mo Pete and I were speaking for about 5 or 6 hours. It was hilarious. But yeah, I'd like to gift you something. It's basically a .ape domain. It's on behalf of today's sponsors of the podcast, and I've chosen tequila.ape. Feel free to have a think about it, and then we can DM afterwards.
Hell yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'd really like to do that. I've really enjoyed talking to you. And also, I would love there to be a part 2 in the future, if you're happy to come back on.
Always. I love talking, and I love giving information that's needed in this ecosystem. So I'd love to come back, as always.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to make it.
Make it. Let's fucking go.
Tequila. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you back on Twitter.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.